Hi.
Can we be seen?
Yeah,
Light.
there's too much light, huh?
Yeah,
Let's just shut those curtains. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Super. Even the one behind?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are doing a class, an acting class. And today we're going to be talking about auditions and how to develop character. And we have this sheet of paper. So you're painting the background. And is this character single? Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they widowed? You want to give reasons as to why it is you think that particular character would be single. You've read the script already once, and once you've read the script once, maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm going to play this character as if they were widowed.
Okay.
I'm going to play this character as if they were single. It will give a different sort of background to how that character responds to the other actor.
Okay.
What's the date of birth of this character? Were they born in pre-independence times? Were they born in post-independence times? Were they born in the 70s in Africa, in Kenya? What would that mean? What kind of, how would they be? Whether they're born now in the time that you're living right now? What kind of a female woman, young woman in this time? Are they in their 20s? Are they in their 30s? Are they in their 40s? Are they in their 50s? If you're playing yourself, maybe you can give me some ideas of what you think a single young Kenyan woman would play.
Yeah. I think for starters, it depends with the script. Now, I had a question before when you asked this question.
Okay,
so
sure.
I was wondering, does painting the background happen with you once you get the script, or is it already in the script? You can just come up with it by the time you're coming. Is it for the skit that you do, or is this for whatever the sheet you're given and you just appear on the door and then they tell you this is what?
Well, it can work both ways. But sometimes you're given a script and it's very clear that this person lived in like ancient times Greece or ancient times Africa, and if it's West Africa, it would be different from what East Africa. So you can find that you are given a script and you're being asked to audition for something that is very specific. But if it isn't specific, then you can come up with your own ideas as to how it is you want to play this character. And even if it is specific, even if maybe you don't know what ancient Greece was like, or you don't know what ancient West Africa or ancient East Africa even was like, you might want to think about whether that person, even though you've been told that they're from Kenya in the 70s, are they married? Are they widowed? Are they divorced? That would then give you a little bit more of a like color for the character that you're playing. You're a young divorcee, you're a young widowed, you're a young single. That's different from if you're in your 30s or 40s, divorced, widowed, single. So you're coming to the audition, and hopefully as a person who is auditioning you, like let's say it's me, and I've called several women to come and audition for a particular role that I want to either put on film or do a play in theatre. I'm saying to you that I want you to find the character so that I'm not seeing the same thing each time. Because you're thinking also about the person who's auditioning, and the person who's auditioning doesn't necessarily want to see a similar thing from each person. The reason why I have several people in the room is because I want to see what you bring to the character.
And you see what you can work with.
And what you can work with, So then, if the person has brothers or sisters, who are they? Which ones are younger or older? Are they the youngest? Are they the oldest? What does that tell you about being the oldest in a family, being the middle child in a family, being the youngest in a family, being the
only kid,
the only kid,
yeah.
the child in a family where there are only brothers, the child in a family where you're all sisters. There's different dynamics to the way that you would play that. Maybe you can, maybe you already have some ideas.
Idea. So let's say for the character, I'd be single. I'd be young, of course. I'm sure I'd have, maybe I'd be the only kid.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. I'm done with school. So I'm creating a scenario, am I?
Yeah.
So experimenting single life, because maybe I'm frustrated with the relationships and everything. Because I feel like if I was boxed in a married situation, there's so much that is similar that someone would expect. Because when you're married, you have a husband. Do you have kids? You know the questions that they ask. Is it, do you have kids or something? Yeah. So I'd take a single life because there's so much to play with and work with and experiment with. Yeah.
So if you were, for instance, tired of being in relationships, what would that mean for you?
Maybe I'm a player now. Maybe. I'm just saying, because if you're tired of being in the same bracket, then you'd experiment and try out new things and go out to events and places to meet new people. And then maybe through the journey, you meet someone, life just changes everything. And maybe now, you see, maybe you can actually settle down. But maybe you're meant to be single. Yeah.
So the one end of the spectrum would be, I'm not interested in anybody ever.
Yeah.
And then there's this other scenario where you've met somebody, and even though you didn't expect it, you're now thinking this can work.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then the fourth one is about whether they had a happy childhood. And because I work a lot with material where we're developing character based on a blank sheet. So we're creating people who don't exist but could exist. So there's one type of rehearsal where you're given a piece of paper and you're told these are the characters that you're playing, and then there's another scenario where you're developing something in a workshop sort of setting, and like you say, you're coming up with ideas of who this person could be because you have a blank sheet. So if they were happy or not happy, what are the sort of things that you might think would be something that you could develop?
If they were happy, let's say maybe if they're not happy, because maybe it could be as a result of what they've seen around, maybe a bad dad, a dad who's never there, some certain scenario. So now for them to commit becomes a problem. Does it make sense? Because you're thinking, see, mom has dad and dad is like this, my dad beats mom, so you don't want that, and you seclude yourself and keep it to yourself. So that's a bad childhood. Do I do a happy one?
Yeah, you could.
If I was a happy one, maybe I'd want 5 kids, so maybe I'd be married. I'm just saying, I'm assuming. If it was a happy childhood and I see maybe we're together with my siblings, everyone is easy, then for sure I'd want more of that to continue in my life. So however it comes, then yeah.
Okay. So then the fifth one is whether the character has any children, whether they're in wedlock, out of wedlock, whether they had them early, whether they had them late, whether they decided, as some women do, that I don't want anything to do with a man, but I want to have children, so I'm going to just get pregnant and be a single mom. That happens quite a lot. And then the sixth one is if this character works, what is the job that they have and what is their attitude towards work? So maybe you could say a few things about what maybe just off the top of your head what you might think.
Do I take attitude as what would the character be bringing, or do I take it as just the role? Does it make sense? Am I making sense?
Of course you are. No, we're I think if it's a question of what the person thinks about work, it could be agricultural work versus office work. Let's say
makes more sense. Yeah, or more of employed or self-employed.
Or self-employed. Yeah. An entrepreneur versus somebody who's waiting for a salary at the end of the month.
Yeah, I think more or less it'd be hanging. So maybe doing your own work. Maybe online or something. If it's the now, if I'm young and I'm at this current age, should be some online job somewhere. Yeah.
What would you be selling?
Plugging clothes.
This is a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll be plugging drip. That's it, drip. Yeah. So I'm selling what's popping and telling people this is what's there. If it's the new type of shoe. This is what is kicking now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Something.
And then where do they live? And what's their financial status? What's the location that they live in? Are they in a rural area? Are they in an urban area? Are they renting? Are they owning their house?
They could be renting or they could be having someone paying their rent. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
The youngins have that. So I think it's either the parents or they're staying with their boyfriend or or what else? The online business is really good. So they're self-independent and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how far along in school did the character go? Did they graduate? Did they withdraw? What's their attitude towards school?
Maybe they dropped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Because maybe, once they're getting the money, then what's the need for school? What school? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe they finished school and are working in the same line, but quit the work. Now that ventured into the online,
that's working, and therefore they don't feel the need
exactly
to be in school.
Yeah.
Because they're making money.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's look at the foreground, because that was background. And then the foreground is what kind of style, what's their sense of style? What's their hair like, their clothing, their makeup, their accessories? Do they have a sense of who they are? I know that you certainly, I've only met you once, but I can see that you have a certain way of your own individual style. So how would you describe that style, and how would you describe a character that you might be able to create?
I think do I speak from a perspective where it's me speaking, or it's the character that I imagine?
Either.
So if it's me speaking, I'd say it depends with one, the trend, but not being too, what's the word? Not conforming. Conforming. So if I decide to go shop at Mr. Price, do I imagine that I'd go to a party somewhere and then someone is wearing the exact shirt that I have, or do I have something that's either I've made it or I've looked for some unique piece somewhere and just owned it into the clothing I'm wearing? Yeah. So I think it would be more free. The style would be free and just free.
Okay, so when you come into
experimental,
so some of these things are the things that you would consider when you come into an audition. You have been given something, but you've also been asked to come with your own ideas based on not knowing what it is you're going to be asked to do. But also there's a way in which the audition could develop, so that you're given a piece of paper, you're given a script, you're told this is the thing that we're doing, but because we're not really sure whether you are the perfect person for this particular role, let's see a little bit about who you are, and these are the ways in which one might be able to now start asking you who you are, so that when the person who's auditioning, the casting agent, is looking to say, this is the right person. Maybe because you're more diverse, you have a lot more imagination. There's a lot more that you could bring that table. Would add to the role that maybe even the director may not have thought of. So it's a question of being able to play with the tool that is you, and saying you're not going to be one-dimensional or two-dimensional. You're going to offer things of your own, and you've thought these things through, and you've come with a palette, like of colors, let's say, and the director can use these colors to create something that they weren't even thinking about.
Okay, so let's say you're this one person, but you have like very many personalities. So how do you sell? I remember I asked you last class whether when you come to an audition, do you, like, how is it that you bring yourself to, like, if it's for the role, am I meant to dress that certain way that I imagine that character would do, you know,
dress,
or do I just go as myself, and then we had the whole conversation of you just go, but it depends with the guys auditioning.
Yeah, well, on a personal level, I think that if you come just the way you are, then I can see who you are. But then if you come like with a prop, like a piece of jewelry or a shuka or a kanga or, you know, a piece of cloth or a pair of sunglasses, something that you then can use to develop something, because often as an actor, your base is going to be who you are. You're not going to be able to pretend so much, because if you pretend so much, you can't be a 50-year-old or a 90-year-old necessarily look like that. But at the same time, if you have thought through, you know, like beliefs, values, morals, all of those things, even as a young person, those things can be used by the director to develop a character that becomes real, even though the piece of paper or the casting, the audition sheet that you're being given may have a certain, and because in Kenya very often we are using foreign scripts, and so you want to kind of Kenyanize the script so that your audience
can
relate. Yeah. So you don't want to be necessarily somebody who's sipping a cup of tea as if you were in England, because you haven't lived that experience. But you can be somebody who knows about taking matatus, taking, being like very much as women, I think we there's a mask that we wear when we go out in the world, and we protect ourselves because of the way in which our society can be about women or about what they expect of us. So if you bring that with you and you come to the audition with that idea, those ideas, then each time you do the audition, and you do a different audition, even in the space of maybe half an hour when you're with the casting director, they can see elements of things that you have developed or can be developed by the director. And that makes you more interesting. That makes you more useful, because if you don't have those things and you just look like a one-dimensional human being who's just reading straight from the piece of paper, then maybe you don't get the audition. You see? And then there's also things about movement. You know, there's the way in which a timid person behaves. There's a way in which somebody who's maybe a lot larger in their extrovert nature, and there's the way in which there's maybe a median somewhere in between. Sometimes you can be introverted, sometimes you can be extroverted. It depends on who's around. What, is it a wedding? Is it a bar? Have you had a few drinks? Have you come out of a space of where maybe you were in public transport and somebody said something to you that made you, like, that triggered you, made you pissed off? So there's various ways in which you can color that character, so that even if you are reading, you are bringing something that says, if I was reading this, and we'll do a little bit of reading just now.
Okay.
If I was reading this and this person had come out of straight from home, or there's a difference between whether they were dropped by the Uber, whether they were dropped by a parent, whether they are in a situation where maybe society thinks, I can't make it, this isn't, they want me to be an engineer, but this is what I want to do. There's the element of maybe you're coming from a religious space where things are a lot more formal. There's a space where you may be feeling a little bit more informal. That will always, sort of be stuff that you can use, even if it isn't something that is your own experience. Just thinking about it and developing ideas of how you would read this character based on those sort of experiences. Yeah. Okay. And just playing, because theater is play, and so we want to be able to see you play with different ideas. Some directors and some casting agents may be very particular about how it is they want you to play this particular role, but I personally think that the more color that you bring and the more ideas that you bring, because it's a joint process, it then helps also the director maybe think differently, and consider that maybe this particular character may not be right for this particular role, but maybe if they played another role, that might work. So maybe we can look at some scripts now, and then we can see whether any of them make any are of interest to you.
So
let's switch this on.